The night was still. The air was frigid. The band played on. On the deck of the Titanic, chaos reigned as the ship, once a beacon of luxury, tilted ever further into the icy embrace of the North Atlantic. The date was April 15th, 1912. For the 2,200 souls aboard, time was slipping away. On the boat deck, the last lifeboat was being lowered, a scene of both desperation and resignation. Deep within the ship, water surged through the corridors, turning elegance into a watery tomb. Passengers and crew alike clung to railings, their faces etched with fear in the flickering lamplight. The once grand staircase, a symbol of the ship's opulence, was now a swirling vortex of water and debris. The sounds of the orchestra faded, replaced by the terrifying groans of the dying ship. As the Titanic's stern rose high into the night sky, the unthinkable was about to happen. The millionaire's ship, as she was known, was about to vanish beneath the waves, taking with her the dreams and aspirations of people from all walks of life. The last image many would have seen was the star-studded sky, a stark contrast to the unfolding tragedy below. With a final, agonizing groan that echoed across the icy Atlantic night, the Titanic split in two. The sound was a terrible, wrenching noise, metal shrieking, decks buckling, and the very heart of the ship breaking apart. Survivors in the lifeboats would later recall the haunting sound, a noise that seemed to signal the end of hope for those still clinging to the doomed vessel. The impossible had happened. The unsinkable ship, a marvel of human engineering and pride, was succumbing to the relentless, indifferent power of the sea. In those final moments, the Titanic's lights flickered against the darkness, illuminating the chaos and despair on deck. Passengers and crew alike faced the unimaginable, their fates sealed by the icy waters that now claimed the ship. As the bow section broke free from the stern, it began its rapid, almost vertical descent to the ocean floor, plunging through the blackness like a wounded leviathan. The immense weight of the bow pulled it downward with terrifying speed, leaving the stern to momentarily bob on the surface, eerily upright, like a giant buoy. For a brief, surreal moment, the stern seemed to defy gravity, standing tall against the night sky. Inside the ship, trapped air pockets offered a cruel illusion of hope. Some survivors later described hearing the desperate pounding of those still inside, hoping for rescue. But the immense pressure of the ocean depths was merciless. As water surged through the once elegant corridors and grand staircases, the air was quickly forced out, and the ship's beautiful interiors were crushed and twisted beyond recognition. The stern, now a mangled wreck of steel and wood, slowly began to sink. Its massive propellers, once symbols of unstoppable progress, briefly spun uselessly in the night air before the stern tilted upward. With a shudder, the stern section broke apart further, its structure unable to withstand the forces tearing it asunder. The last piece of the Titanic was now on its final journey to the ocean floor. Down, down, down went the Titanic, its descent marked by the eerie sounds of tearing metal and the implosion of countless compartments. The pressure at these depths was unimaginable, crushing steel, shattering glass, and reducing the once mighty ship to a twisted, broken skeleton. The darkness was absolute, broken only by the occasional glint of debris tumbling through the water. The ocean, so calm and deceptively peaceful on the surface, was a maelstrom of currents and pressure changes in its depths. As the Titanic's remains plunged deeper, they were battered and scattered by these powerful forces, further tearing apart the ship and spreading its contents across the seabed. The once proud vessel was now at the mercy of forces beyond human control. The Atlantic, which the Titanic had set out to conquer, now claimed her as its own. The ship's legacy, once defined by ambition and luxury, was now rewritten by tragedy and loss. As the two halves of the Titanic tumbled through the darkness, they left in their wake a trail of debris, fragments of dreams, remnants of lives, scattered across the ocean floor. Suitcases, shoes, pieces of furniture, and even children's toys drifted down, silent witnesses to the disaster. Each artifact told a story, a poignant reminder of the lives forever changed on that fateful night. The ship that was supposed to conquer the Atlantic had been conquered by it, leaving behind a legacy of tragedy and a mystery that would endure for decades. The Titanic's final plunge was not just the end of a ship, but the end of an era, a stark reminder of nature's power and the limits of human ambition. Even now, more than a century later, the story of the Titanic's last moments continues to captivate and haunt us, as the ship rests in silent darkness, a monument to those lost and the dreams that went down with her. Down, down, down sank the Titanic, beyond the reach of sunlight, slipping away from the world it once knew. As the great ship descended, the last glimmers of daylight faded, swallowed by the vast, inky blackness of the deep ocean. The Titanic, once a marvel of human engineering and luxury, now drifted silently into a realm untouched by human hands, a place where time seemed to stand still. It entered a world of perpetual darkness, where the sun's rays could never hope to reach. Here, the only illumination comes from the occasional flicker of a submersible's lights or the faint bioluminescence of deep-sea creatures. The silence is absolute, broken only by the distant groans of shifting metal and the slow, steady settling of sediment. The pressure at this depth, 2.5 miles below the surface, is unimaginable, enough to crush a human like an eggshell. Every square inch of the Titanic is pressed upon by thousands of pounds of water, a force so immense that only the most advanced submersible can survive here, their hulls engineered to withstand the crushing weight. For anything unprotected, survival is impossible. The abyss is both a grave and a fortress. Here in the cold, silent abyss lay the final resting place of the ship of dreams. The Titanic, once filled with laughter, music, and hope, now rests in eternal stillness, its story frozen in time. The ship's grandeur is gone, replaced by a haunting beauty, a monument to both human ambition and the unforgiving power of nature. The ocean floor is not a flat, barren landscape. Instead, it is a mysterious, ever-changing world, shaped by powerful geological forces over millions of years. Ridges rise like underwater mountains, valleys plunge into darkness, and the ground is littered with rocks and silt, creating a dramatic and alien terrain. It's a world of canyons, mountains, and plains, sculpted over millennia by geological forces. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the slow movement of tectonic plates have carved out this hidden landscape, making it as dynamic and varied as any found on land. The Titanic came to rest in a place shaped by these ancient processes, a silent witness to the planet's restless energy. The Titanic, broken and battered, came to rest on a gently sloping plain, surrounded by its own debris field, a haunting graveyard of shattered dreams. Scattered across the seabed are pieces of the ship's once proud structure, twisted metal, broken china, and personal belongings, each telling a silent story of the night the great liner met its fate. The debris field stretches for hundreds of meters, a somber reminder of the chaos and tragedy that unfolded above. Over time, the ocean began to reclaim its own. Sediment drifted down from above, slowly blanketing the wreck in a fine layer of silt. Marine life, drawn by the shelter and structure the ship provided, began to colonize every available surface. The Titanic, once a symbol of human achievement, was gradually being transformed by the relentless processes of nature. Sea creatures, both large and small, made the wreck their home. Strange, otherworldly fish glide silently through the corridors, while crabs and shrimp scuttle across the decks. Even in this harsh, lightless environment, life finds a way to thrive, adapting to the cold and the darkness in ways that seem almost miraculous. Corals, sponges, and anemones attach themselves to the metal hull, creating a surreal, otherworldly landscape. Over the years, these hardy organisms have transformed the Titanic into an artificial reef, a living monument to the resilience of life. Brightly colored anemones wave gently in the current, while colonies of bacteria feast on the iron, creating delicate rust-colored formations known as rusticles. The Titanic, once a symbol of human ingenuity, was now a testament to the relentless power of nature. The ocean, indifferent to human dreams and ambitions, slowly but surely reclaims all that enters its depths. The ship's steel hull, designed to withstand the harshest conditions, is no match for the patient, unyielding forces of corrosion and decay. In this alien environment, the ship began its slow, inexorable transformation. Year by year, the Titanic's structure weakens, its decks collapsing under the weight of sediment and the relentless assault of bacteria. The once sharp lines of the hull blur and soften as rust and marine growth consume the metal, erasing the ship's original form. Metal corroded, wood decayed, and the once bright colors were muted by a patina of rust and sediment. The grand staircase, the elegant cabins, the gleaming railings, all are now unrecognizable, lost beneath layers of decay. The Titanic's transformation is a slow, ongoing process, a reminder that nothing, not even the greatest of human creations, can withstand the passage of time and the might of the sea. The Titanic was becoming one with the deep, its secrets hidden beneath layers of time and the ocean's embrace. As the years pass, the ship will continue to fade, gradually merging with the seabed until only faint traces remain. Yet even as it disappears, the Titanic's story endures, a haunting reminder of both the fragility and the resilience of the human spirit, resting forever in the silent, eternal abyss. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and orange, a quiet stillness settled over the vast expanse of the North Atlantic. The cold air was heavy with the weight of tragedy, and the gentle lapping of waves belied the chaos that had unfolded just hours before. The first rays of sunlight revealed a scene that would haunt the world for generations. The Carpathia, a passenger liner that had raced through the night after receiving Titanic's desperate distress signals, finally arrived at the scene of the disaster. Its crew and passengers, bracing themselves for the unknown, peered anxiously over the rails, searching for any sign of life amidst the endless blue. The surface of the ocean was littered with debris, deck chairs, life jackets, and personal belongings, each item a silent testament to the lives that had been forever changed or lost. The water, once a symbol of adventure and promise, now carried the remnants of shattered dreams. Pieces of wood, fragments of the once mighty ship, drifted aimlessly. The sight was a grim reminder of the scale of the tragedy, a floating graveyard stretching as far as the eye could see. But amidst the wreckage, there was hope, the lifeboats. Scattered across the waves, these small vessels were filled with survivors, their faces pale from cold and shock, but alive. Each lifeboat represented a fragile victory over the merciless sea. The survivors, huddled together for warmth and comfort, were a mix of emotions: relief at having survived, grief for those lost, and a numb disbelief at the ordeal they had endured. Many clung to one another, seeking solace in shared humanity as they waited, shivering, for rescue. The trauma of the night was etched into their faces. Some stared blankly at the horizon, lost in thought, while others wept quietly, mourning loved ones who had not made it. The silence was broken only by the occasional sob or whispered prayer. As the Carpathia's crew pulled the survivors aboard, stories began to emerge, whispered accounts of the sinking, the confusion, and the desperate scramble for lifeboats. Each tale painted a harrowing picture of courage and chaos, of split-second decisions that meant the difference between life and death. There were tales of heroism, like that of the band members who played on, their music a final act of comfort and bravery as the ship slipped beneath the waves. Their melodies, drifting across the water, offered a moment of peace in the midst of panic. The wireless operators, too, became legends. Working tirelessly in the Marconi room, they sent out distress calls until the very last moment, their efforts ensuring that help would come, even as the ship's fate was sealed. There were stories of selflessness, men who gave up their spots on lifeboats so that women and children might live, and strangers who comforted one another in the darkness. In the face of disaster, acts of kindness shone brightly. But there were also stories of unimaginable loss. Families were torn apart, parents separated from children, husbands from wives. For many, the journey that had begun with hope ended in heartbreak, their dreams left behind in the icy depths. As the Carpathia steamed towards New York, carrying with it the weight of tragedy and the fragile hope of those who survived, the world waited anxiously for news. The ship's decks were crowded with survivors, wrapped in blankets, staring silently at the receding horizon. News of the disaster spread rapidly. Crowds gathered outside newspaper offices, reading the latest headlines in stunned disbelief. The sinking of the Titanic, once thought impossible, had become a reality that shook the world to its core. Today, the wreck of the Titanic rests on the ocean floor, a haunting monument to the lives lost and the lessons learned. The tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the unpredictable power of the sea, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity.